It takes me a minute on my end to see it. Okay, let's see. Yes, we are live. Okay, so let me get the link posted in the event. This is happening much quicker.
Oh, good.
It's happening quicker than it did
And
earlier.
normal. Okay, good.
It's because you just keep doing it, and then it becomes much more
I'm gonna
natural.
get ready to share this. Let's see. Let's see if I go to your.
Oops. Post that link. Okay. How are you doing on your end?
Good.
Are you there yet?
Yep, I see us live.
Okay, good.
And I'm figuring out how to share it, but I may just share it, I guess, after it's done. I don't know.
If you hit those three little dots, if you're
Oh,
on my timeline, hit those and then copy link and then go over to your timeline and paste.
okay.
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 Excellent.
I think I got
Well,
it done.
welcome, and welcome everyone to another segment in A Day of Light and Love 2023. In this segment, we have the contribution of Dawn L. Davis. Dawn, I'm not going to I'm not going to do a bio intro for you. I've been letting each contributor kind of share what they feel they want to share about who they are, what they do, where they are now, and the now of whatever
Mm-hmm.
future they're creating. And so I thank you so much for taking the time. I know that you have a family that you're serving,
Mm-hmm.
and I appreciate you taking the time to just contribute in this way. So thank you. And Dawn
Yeah.
L. Davis, let's hear what you have to say.
Oh, fun, fun, fun. Well, I've been through a whole new identity as of late, Jeannie. As you may or may not know, I finally moved from San Diego to Boise. And so I've only been here a week. So I'm starting a completely new life and complete with just endings, beginnings, all sorts of things. Professionally speaking, I am a coach and mentor, and I help women become their thriving future selves by healing forward so they can have the love and success they desire. So, lots of futuring.
You
And
said
this,
healing forward. I love
healing,
that. But okay, back to your.
yeah, healing forward. And this was the year that if I were to get a degree in school to complete my thesis, of futuring and the actual manifestation work that I do with my clients, this would be the year that I presented it and triumphantly succeeded in moving forward, and like it was quite a year. And so, I mean, I know it's not over just yet, but I learned how, our topic, I learned how to surrender on a level that I didn't even realize was possible in order to manifest, because I know we can manifest little things, but when we go for big life changes,
Yes.
sometimes we have to give up control and really trust the process.
Ooh,
Yeah,
trust the process has been the mantra of my last 6 months.
I bet.
And it has. And it's it's phenomenal because I feel like I first had to recognize that that needed to occur. Then I needed to model it. And then all of
Hmm.
a sudden, through surrender, the surrender occurred and I became the embodiment of just that trusting the process.
Amazing.
And that's when everything happens.
Yes. And it's not something that um is easy to come by, I believe. And what I mean by that is sometimes it takes extenuating circumstances to initiate us into this next level of trust and surrender. And that's what happened for me with trying to move to Boise and be with Ricky, my fiance.
Which
And
that occurred this year, correct?
yeah, that occurred just in October.
June.
Yeah, so it was at our 2-year anniversary, but I was working diligently this last it was about 18 months to be able to move my girls with me to Boise. And it was a hard earned process to go through. And that saying, I know when we work with Yvonne, I think she talks about burning the boats, right?
Yeah.
That saying. And I burned the boats this year. I went all in on the things that I wanted.
That's the surrender piece.
Hmm.
That's the part I think in my own walk, my own life, that has consistently been the hardest. And that's where the trust in the process has to get solidified
Yes.
because burning the boats, and I did see some of your posts towards the end. Sadly, I'm not on social media a whole lot these days. Because, well, it's not sadly because life is so
No,
robust,
exactly.
but I
You're
try to,
living.
yeah, I try to keep my finger on the pulse. And you talked about something that was so very true. And the leaving of the life that you knew in
Mm,
San Diego. Not just
hmm.
the life that you knew, because Ricky was already a part of that life, but the
Yes.
way that you were doing that life together, you were leaving that and all of the other connections to that, which really they don't go away.
No.
They shift and they change and they morph and they grow. But there is some grief.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the letting go of that, our attachment to what is, I think often hinders us from receiving what is even greater and can be.
Mm. Yes, 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 Jeannie, you're speaking right to my heart because I'm in such a mysterious place right now because I manifested my, partner that I wanted my whole life. Like he's my dream guy. And then I was able to get the family part of it situated and then the move. And then I'm in this piece right now where I'm in between the old world and the new world. And I'm in this very mysterious place. And there's a part of me, the egoic human part of me, that's like, oh my God, I miss like going to this place, or I miss my friends over here that I could just pop and go see. And it was 33 years of life that I walked away from.
Wow.
And it was directed by my soul, to leave. It was this higher calling from the moment I came to Idaho. But even happened before then. I had visions of Ricky and his son. I had visions that I was going to move. And so it was very much in my, field, my of understanding that my life was going to change. But when you get what you want, there is that letting go. I was like, oh wait,
Yes.
I can't have all of it. Like I can't just
No.
keep, the way things the way they were. Like I have
Yeah.
to give it up. And
Yeah,
yeah.
I had someone once tell me, it was a teacher or a mentor who once said, you can have a foot in two boats, but they're not going to get very far. because you're stretched.
Yeah,
It's only so much,
yeah.
right? And if you want to get to that shore, that next shore across the way, you won't do it with a foot in two boats.
No, and it's that piece of surrendering, right? It's like, okay,
Yes.
when someone, myself, maybe our listeners are in that mysterious place of that, you know, it's an interesting place because I'm where I want to be,
Yeah.
but I haven't arrived fully into the knowing or understanding or certainty of what's next.
Yes, it's a certainty.
It's the
That
certainty.
certainty piece. Because the thing about the past is there's a known to it.
Yeah, it's familiar.
It's familiar
Like
and
a
and
warm,
and
cozy blanket.
and you know what, even though there was something more that you wanted that was not there, there were so many aspects of the there that you loved, right?
Totally.
And so the willing to relinquish the control there, and just when you said it was like a soul calling, I can so resonate with that. I can absolutely, so many times in my life where it's like a magnetized directive.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and it just becomes, but that surrender piece you talked about, the egoic human, our humanness, we don't necessarily want to let go of control. And
Mm,
yet in the hanging on to control, we violate the trust of the process, and therefore the process can't work.
exactly. And I love how you said it, violate the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't work. And I found in my process of getting to be in this place, it was so interesting, Jeannie, because every time there were certain things that would happen, circumstances, and I would try and orchestrate them. I would try and
Oh,
just like I don't know,
oh
without
yeah.
giving, but just like I would go and I worry about it, and I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna do this, so this happens, and I
Yes.
did it and every single time I did that, it never worked out the way I thought it was gonna work out. And it was almost like I got to a point where even the difficult, challenging pieces, because I feel like when you're manifesting a big life change, there's big obstacles and challenges along the way that are part of the manifestation sequence. It's not all
Oh
like,
yes.
this feels really good all the time. No,
Oh yes.
because you're in the becoming of the
Yes.
version of you that can receive your manifestation. So when those challenges were happening, I remember trying to control and fight it. And I'd get upset or frustrated, like, this isn't working out the way that I want it to, and laughing at myself, but at the same time, feeling the really human emotion of like, I'm losing control and I'm supposed to, and I've
Yes.
to let go of this. And then
Yes.
I would look backwards after the, event happened, and it worked perfectly.
I know.
Like it was supposed to be there, but I was fighting it so much. So it's taught me to kind of just be more in flow and to
Yeah.
not try so freaking I'm not saying not try, but not to put so much force into things, just
Yes.
allowing and showing up to the
Yes.
circumstance in
Yes.
just the way that's necessary, but not overdoing it. Because I always
Yes.
try and make things happen. Oh, I gotta do this.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if I want things to go my way, I have to force it or push it. And
Yeah.
that was my biggest learning, was like, no,
Yes.
actually, you are a small piece of this sequence.
Two things here. One, um, I did a course once and it was explained the difference between manufactured manifestation and surrendered manifestation.
I love that.
Because manufactured you have to do it again and again and again and again. Surrendered manifestation, you don't, but yet faith has feet. The trust in the process, we have to receive the inspired thought or feel the magnetized, like, oh, I should, like you feel called, I got to do this part, I've got to do that part. But it also brings to mind something that my husband Denny would frequently remind me of,
What?
At times when he was noticing that I was wrestling for the control of something, and he'd say, babe, you might want to get out of God's chair on this one.
That is one of my favorite sayings, Jeannie, that when you and I worked together and you mentored me for coaching and relationship coaching, that was one of my all-time favorite sayings that
Oh,
I've heard ever. And
yeah.
it's always guided me like, oh yeah, I'm getting in God's
Yeah,
chair.
yeah, you notice once that awareness goes off, you go, oh wait, because you start to know, like, there's something in the surrender. When you talked about that flow, there's some kind of an ease, even though you may have this mountain that it feels like a mountain that you're climbing,
Mhm.
you still got to climb it.
Yes.
And instead of it being arduous, it's almost like it can be an adventure. It can be, there's a magical component to not knowing, but
Yes.
trusting,
Hmm.
right?
Yes.
How does someone cultivate that trust so that they can surrender? What do you think? That's a big question,
That's a
maybe.
fantastic question. I would say it's almost like little micro steps,
Mm,
like building it as you go, like listening, if you get an intuitive download and then trusting it and taking action and seeing how that unfolds. I really believe we change like the core of our being by just like little actions because it becomes sustainable and a new way of being. So I would say leaning into trust, and noticing where you're so resistant because that's what became I was hyper aware of after a while of what I was started, I was resisting the process. I was resisting, like when you said it could be an adventure. And there were parts of for me along my journey that I was in so much fear and resistance that it didn't feel like an adventure. It felt like I was
oh
making
yeah.
it so much harder than it needed to be,
Oh,
right? And
oh
then
yeah.
yeah, but I think trust is one of those things that will ultimately for me besides like micro steps, it was going into deep prayer
Mhm.
and giving my life to the divine and
Yeah.
saying, you have a higher perspective and an unconditional love for my reality. And I'm going to do my part, but I have to give this over to you because I can't hold the fear and the trust at the same
That's
time.
right. So it's two boats.
Yep. And so I had to
Ultimately, you
let
got
go.
to jump into one of them if
Yeah,
you
I was
want to
like, I'm
hold.
all in. And that's when I said I'm all in and I surrender and I trust, it was just kind of like everything started moving,
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, okay, this is this is what it's gonna be. And then to your point of it like being an adventure, that it's almost like you're in a if you're in the river and you're rafting, whitewater rafting, and you're, kind of navigating things, you get to that point where if you're making it really hard for yourself, you're just not in
Yes.
flow. But like as soon as you
Yes.
say, okay, I'm just gonna like do what I need to, move with the currents, then you get there, like you say, you get there faster. It becomes like an
Yes.
adventure
And you
because it's
don't
like,
capsize
yeah,
because you're in the flow of it. You're not I don't know, we contribute to the resistance when we fight the resistance because we're meeting it with resistance.
yep. And
And so we
it's our,
contribute to it. And it's
yep,
the thing about the micros, I think that as those micros occur, those little micro adjustments, I think what compelled me forward and magnetized me even more was the little evidences that became confirmations that
yeah,
that I'm on the right track.
yes.
And
That
that's
helped me so much
isn't
too.
isn't that beautiful? The gift and sometimes just serendipitous synergies. Just, and the thing is when we manufacture it, we're limited. We're limited to what we know our resources are, or what we've proven, or in our humanness, what we have to bring
And we're holding on to it's almost like we're doing it from the past,
from the past.
not from the future where it's
No,
unlimited potential and possibilities.
yes, and recognizing that when you said go into deep prayer and say, I'm turning it over to the divine. It's like, God, just direct me, because like grand overall design, there is something way bigger than me. And I know that I'm an important component of it for where I am planted, but
Mm-hmm.
I can only see what the past, where I've gotten this far. And I think you're right. You open up the floodgates
Mm-hmm.
in the now when you surrender and just say, I will put feet to it. There's something, I don't remember who it was that I heard say it, but I have it on my bathroom mirror. And it says, God, you give me the quality and I'll supply the quantity.
Oh, wow. I love that.
Which means I'll put the feet to it. I'll do the actions.
Mhm.
You give me the quality of the direction, the quality of resource, whatever, and I'll steward them well, basically.
Yeah.
Because we have to, that there is an action component. It's
Oh,
just,
yes.
where are we when we're taking that action?
Mm-hmm.
Are we in God's chair? Do we knock him out? Or are we being inspired? Are we listening? Are we receiving and then acting?
Well, and that for me, I had to slow down so much this
Mm.
last year. I've never slowed down as much as it was almost like a devotional practice of just like sitting with like a cup of my mushroom coffee or tea every morning when I had
Mm.
time and just being with myself because the inspiration and the next steps come in that very subtle, intuitive, kind of breezy way that they do. And if I was going and doing things in my old capacity of like, okay, I got to keep going fast, 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 I wouldn't have understood that path, that just that very next step that was being laid out for me. And so I had to be very, I feel like that's not something that people think about a lot, but in manifesting your life and surrendering, you do have to be really present.
Yeah, intentionally present.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
what you speak of, like my morning, I have a morning devotional time set aside,
Mm.
and it begins before I get out of bed. And
Wow.
and I want to say 360 of 365 days this year, I have been there for that first hour. And I will tell you, all of the reception, I think it just opens up the reception point. I
Mhm.
might receive some things then in that intentional quiet, but I can be driving. It's almost like you reopen the door to the hallway or to a portal or something,
The
because you're
door to the
intentional.
infinite. Yeah.
Yes, you're at the door to the infinite. That's it. You're
Well, it's like that.
intentional about it.
Yeah. And it's like once you say in the morning, even though it might not come through, like you said, right at that hour, the door to the infinite is opened once we ask those questions. Divine, show me what is my next step, or something a little more specific, even more so than I'm already doing now. And then,
Yes.
like we learned in futuring, and then all of a sudden it's like your life becomes the answer. And
Oh,
everything that's happening is
got
part
chill
of
bump.
it.
Yes. Your life becomes the answer. That's a title of a book, sister. It is. Your life
Better
becomes
start
the
writing it.
answer. That's so amazing.
Yeah, well, that was the biggest thing I learned this year is every time I thought things were going awry and it was going in I asked the questions, I was in this deep inquiry, and then life became everything that was happening in my life was the answer. And I was like, okay, what would happen if I just didn't resist this feeling that feels, if I felt contracted or tight or scared or fearful, what if I just didn't resist this and I trusted that this is part of the process of
Yes,
my growth? And then everything becomes more of an adventure, truly, like you were saying.
it does. Because the trust muscle is strong enough now that it doesn't really matter. You just know this is the next part of the path beyond the bend that you couldn't
Hmm.
see before. And the other thing is I used to, it was really important to like arrive. I was like, I was so off base there. I'm so much in my life. Arrive, arrive, arrive. Like, well, when are we arriving? And the truth is, the path. I
Yeah.
have fallen in love with the process of the path
Mm-hmm.
because I do walk in faith. As soon as that shifted, I to say I've arrived cuts off any more arrivals.
Right.
Why
It
would
is.
why would I
Yeah,
want to
I
do that?
agree. We're always in the becoming of the next version of ourselves, right?
Yes.
But I do love completions.
Oh, I love it.
I love the
Yes.
fact that I can see that there was an end to that sequence of my manifestation process where I did
Like, but
get to
yet there
move.
was still some pain in it
Oh,
because grief is uncomfortable and it's hurt and it 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 taps into a nerve of previous, you know, it's not comfortable and it's like I I want this, but God, can you bring me this on this platter? And I don't feel, but the truth is no. You know,
right.
life is messy and
It really
we
is.
accumulate some messes that have to be sorted through in order to advance.
Hmm.
And even in the advancement, there's messiness because it's a new frontier, it's new territory.
So true, Jeannie. It's what I have to get. And I don't know about you, but I kept, I told my best friend the other day, I feel bad for feeling sad because this is what I want to be here. And I feel really guilty and bad that I'm so sad about missing San Diego and missing my friends and the weather. And she's like, well, of course it's okay. And it's like, I think for me at least, there's so much programming of when you get what you want, you should just be happy. It's that old
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
programming. And I was like, no, I have to let myself be sad because
In
part
in
of it.
all in all of our humanness, there's aspects of our past that we could only move forward into the future that we wanted by setting down parts of the past, sometimes releasing relationships. Now, I'm not talking intimate relations, I mean
Yeah.
friends, or when you
Mhm.
change jobs or you move away from neighbors and the relationships were just based in whatever the circumstances were.
Mhm.
I'm kind of like a lifetime person. I have tendencies where I no longer do, but there was a time for a long time in my life where I was very attached.
Yeah.
I was emotionally very attached. And what I have discovered is that there's a greater emotion. We release a greater emotion when we're no longer attached, when we
Mm.
can just have. And my grief journey since Denny passed has
Yeah.
given me a lot of those gifts of understanding things in the past that I had a hard time setting down, or because even let's just talk about a divorce situation, okay,
Mhm.
which is
Mhm.
really where I was back when, in the reference that I make, what originally inspired this event, it was that first Christmas that
Wow.
I was in my first marriage and my boys were going to their dad's and I was going to be alone on Christmas Day. And that friend said, come and share it with me, and knew what I needed ahead of me needing it. Well, the thing is there were aspects of that life. There were parts of that life and that marriage that I could no longer abide.
Mhm.
But there were aspects of it.
Mhm.
Are you with me? That were
Yeah.
beautiful gifts. And
Mhm.
so grief, I think grief is a path that walks alongside of us.
Oh,
Do you know?
feel that.
Because why would you want to forget the gifts? You want to forgive the stuff that was ucky, but
Yeah.
why not bring those? And I think when you miss them, it's a way. And then I just put my arm around myself, you know, I do. And I just like, yeah, those were amazing. And but the thing is when we realize we don't really leave them and they don't ever leave us.
Yeah.
They're still with us. We can choose
Mhm.
to bring forward whatever we want to, and we can leave the other stuff. But that even that other stuff that we left, I don't think it's just gone. But I do think that through understanding, it can continue to collaborate with us and bring us
Mhm.
the wisdom of those experiences.
I love that, Jeannie. That's very profound.
Well,
It's very profound, and it's something beautiful to chew on. It's because it's like, I think not everybody, but a lot of people tend to push away those
yes,
more shadowy feelings inside of
yes,
ourselves. And I have been embracing more grief and allowing myself to be with it. And you said something about detachment. And it was so interesting because I thought about one of the tools that helped me this last year, well, 2 years, when I was going back and forth between Idaho and California, back and forth in these two different lives, seeing Ricky and getting all filled up and nurtured and loved, and then coming back home. And there was a point where I was going to Idaho and I'd have so much fun that I'd have to come back to San Diego, and I'd be like, oh, I'm back here and he's not here. And I thought to myself, I can't live my life like this. I can't be here in San Diego and grieving where I was. And I can't, and I'll explain what I mean by that, or vice versa, in Idaho,
yes.
missing my daughters. And I learned, I was like, I'm so attached. So what if I just learned how to be so present that I'm wherever I'm at, that's where I
Yeah,
am.
yeah.
And then I can experience the grief of, missing somebody, and that's part of it. But it's like, I'm here.
But have it be a beautiful thing
But have it be beautiful
because
instead
you're
of
being
like
reminded
wishing,
of something that you loved and it was right.
yeah. Because I wasn't allowing myself to be present for a while because of that. The emotional attachment was so big for me. And I even felt it this morning with my daughters being with their father this morning. I was like, oh, I miss my daughters. And I felt myself like tearing up. And I was like, I'm here right now and I'm in a loving environment. And so I'm going to stay present and be with this. And it's okay for me to be sad to miss my daughters. Just like really holding space for all of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that that's incredibly aware.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. It really truly is. It is you know, it doesn't just happen either. But with intentionality, it happens a lot faster. The
Mm-hmm.
advancement of awareness.
Yeah.
So for someone, because we're not past, but we're
It's
right on
getting
the
close.
cusp.
Yeah.
We're on the
Yeah.
cusp of our time. I say cusp because I know that you are um, astrologically informed. Bless you. Here's the thing. We have people who they're at various stages of their own becoming, as we all are, right? And there might be people that some things that they don't yet know, or that you're aware of what you know that they aren't yet aware that is available for them to know. What would you say? Because I do know that presence has come up a lot throughout all of these conversations and
Mm.
intentionality too, interestingly. What would you say to someone who's looking to overcome a pretty big mound of dirt or mountain in order because they know what they want, but they have to move over something or through it, or the obstacles have to be met and somehow resolved or dissolved. Sometimes they
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they just dissipate on their own. It's the most remarkable thing when they do.
True. Mm-hmm.
But what would you say? Because someone that doesn't quite understand that, they're feeling a little stuck, but they're called to not be. They know that they're stuck. What would you recommend to them as
Um,
some
two
steps?
two things I would recommend. One is holding the vision of what it is that you really want and choreographing it and rehearsing it. And what I mean, I would do it on the treadmill. I would see the end result of what I
Yes.
wanted and I would get into the feeling state. And I could like, sometimes I'd have like little tears streaming down my face of joy or relief. And what's so crazy is when that situation did come to an end and I had choreographed it so many times, it was almost like the most natural thing, because I lived it so many times in
Yes.
in meditation. So that's the first thing: choreograph, rehearse, feel what you want to feel of your vision. And then secondly, see it as a kind of a duration race where you have to pace yourself and you have to stay really present. And if you get like, if you think of it as a race and you went off on a detour, just trust like, okay, this may seem like it's taking me off path, this negative emotion I'm feeling, or I'm getting fed up. But realize as long as you come back to your vision and surrender, you're still in the process. It's like, don't give up, just have that faith. And the last thing I would say is believe in the miracles that are possible, because you think that you have to do it all by yourself. And that's actually not true. We're never doing anything by ourselves.
Hmm.
Like there's other people involved in these things. There's God, there's all this energy. So when you feel like I can't control this is too much, that's when you have to get out of God's chair and let the miracles happen. Let the
Yes.
miracles happen. And you'll be pleasantly surprised how they will. So
Yeah.
that's what I would say is just, those few things.
Yeah. I think that you spoke it so well. And when we're consistent in doing that, the
Mhm.
evidences show up. They're little small evidences like confirmations on the
Oh,
path. It's
undoubtedly they show
like
up.
little rewards then that
Yeah.
provide the fuel of like it just reignites that vision. And it's like
It gives you that stamina to keep
yes,
going.
yes. And once you do that enough, it doesn't really matter how long in between the evidences or the confirmations, you just know that another one's arriving because faith has feet. And as long as you're moving in the direction of the vision has to manifest.
Yeah, and the thing is all those things that are happening to you along the way of getting your manifestation is the becoming process.
They're happening for you.
They're happening. They literally, like, I wanted so badly to move last year at the end of last year, and I couldn't. Looking back now, if I had, I wouldn't have probably been ready for all, like I needed to become this version of me in order to do so. So your mind may tell you, oh, I know better, but there is, now looking back, there is such a divine design to all of it.
It is.
And just it's trusting the timing, because the timing frustrates people so much. They're like, why is this not happening? Probably because you're not ready for it. And if you got the manifestation, you wouldn't be able to sustain it
That's
because we
it.
want sustainability of the manifestation.
That is it right there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. Well, thank
Thank
you.
you. It
Thank you
was
so
a
much.
pleasure.
Thank you
Yes.
for taking this time.
Of course.
I know that what you had to say touched a lot of people.
Yeah.
I can see it in the comments. So thank
Mm.
you so much. Love to you and Ricky and your whole
Love to
family and
you.
your whole year ahead. Wonder where you'll be 1 year from now when we meet up again to talk.
I know. And you've been a big part of it, Jeannie. You're one of my featuring sisters.
I am.
We did that featuring walk last year with Yvonne in Las Vegas. I feel like that was a game changer. That was a week. That was a very powerful weekend that in 2022. And it was this very powerful weekend in 23 for me. It was the same weekend I got engaged.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's a lot that goes on in these
There
futures.
is, and it's like recognizing the small miracles that I call serendipities inside of and the timing and the alignment and when we're so seeking to like control and manufacture it, we're so limited. We limit the miracle
Yes.
because the miracle isn't going to come from us, it's going to come through us.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And
Mhm.
you are a beautiful evidence of that.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Don. Love you to
Thank you, love.
pieces. And we'll talk again soon. And goodbye, everyone, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Okay.